Vielen Dank, Herr Turner. Ich nehme
Thank
die
you very
Wünsche
much,
und
Mr.
die
Turner.
Anregungen
I
gerne
am
mit, sehr
happy
geehrter
to
Herr
accept your
Professor
wishes and
Mühnig.
your inspiration.
Meine
Professor
lieben
Munich,
Kolleginnen
my
und
dear
Kollegen
colleagues
aus Wissenschaft
from
und Politik,
science,
meine sehr verehrten
politics,
Damen und Herren,
ladies and
Sie können mir
gentlemen,
glauben, dass
you
es für
can
mich eine
believe me
besondere
that for
Freude
me it
ist,
is a
an
special
einem
honor
solchen Tag
to speak
hier in
on a day
Berlin,
like
wo
this,
vor
here in
25
Berlin,
Jahren
where
eine der
25 years
begrenzten
ago
Grenzen
one
der
of the
Welt
most
verlief,
divisive
wo
borders
wir nie geglaubt
of
haben,
the
dass diese
world
Grenze
was running.
in
And we
unserer
never
Lebenszeit
thought
noch einmal
that this
fällt.
border
An
would
einem
fall
solchen
in our
Tag so
lifetime.
viele
So on
Wissenschaftler und
such a day, to
Wissenschaftlerinnen
have
und
gathered
Menschen
here
aus
so
den
many
unterschiedlichsten
scientists, so many
Themenbereichen Politik,
scholars, so many
Wirtschaft
people
hier
coming from the
in
most
Berlin
different
begrüßen zu
settings. And
können,
I'm
denn
very
ich
happy
glaube,
to
es
be
ist immer
able
noch
to
ein
welcome them here
besonderes
to Berlin,
Signal
because I
Hoffnung,
believe it is
dass
still a
Hoffnung
very special
das
signal
auch
that is sent
unüberwindlich
out,
erscheinende
and it is also
Grenzen
sending out
und
hope
Mauern
that even
überwunden werden
those
können,
walls and borders that seem
überwunden werden
unsurmountable
können
can be
durch vor allen
surmounted,
Dingen Mut,
especially
durch
through
Inspiration,
courage, through
durch
inspiration,
Beharrlichkeit
through
und eben durch
tenacity,
gemeinsames
and
friedliches
through
Handeln.
our joint
Wir alle wissen,
peaceful
dass die
action. We
Grenzenfragen
all
dieser
know
Welt,
that
die
the most
ist keine
urgent
Frage der
questions that
Willenspolitik, die
exist here
nationalen
in this
Grenzen lösen
world
lassen,
are,
ob das
of
nun
course,
die
no
globalen
questions
Fragen
that
des
can be resolved
Klimawandels oder
within the
des
national
Erhalts der
borders,
Umwelt
be it
sind.
climate change or
Wir
be
müssen hier
it
gemeinsame
preserving the
Lösungen finden
environment.
und
We
das
need
heißt,
to
über
find
Grenzen
joint
hinweg
solutions, and
zusammenarbeiten
this
und das
requires a
heißt
joint
Mauern
effort,
einreißen,
and this
nicht
requires
nur zwischen
tearing
Ländern,
down
sondern
walls,
auch
not only between
zwischen
countries, but
Wissenschaftsdisziplinen,
also
aber auch immer noch
disciplines of
Bestehendes
science,
zwischen
and
Wissenschaft,
also
Wirtschaft
between
und
science,
Politik.
industry,
Wenn
and
man sich
politics.
anschaut, die Agenda
So
dieser
if we look at
Konferenz,
the
dann ist da
agenda
einfach
of this
nicht auszulassen,
conference, then
was im
actually it
Moment
covers
auf
almost
dem Planeten
everything
wichtig ist,
that
also
is
ob das
of
nun
concern
der
to us
Kampf gegen
on
den
this
Hunger ist,
planet,
gegen
be it the
Krankheit und
fight
Armut,
against
ob es das
hunger,
Ringen um
disease, and
Freiheit ist, um
poverty, the
Wohlstand,
struggle for
um
freedom,
Teilhabe,
prosperity,
aber
and
eben auch
social
um Durchbrüche
participation,
in
but
einzelnen
also for
Wissenschaftsdisziplinen,
breakthroughs in
Nanotechnologie,
individual
IT,
fields of
in der
science,
Medizin
IT,
oder in der Energie.
nanotechnology, energy,
Und
or
es stehen
medicine.
grundlegende
And
Zukunftsfragen,
there
die für
are
uns alle
fundamental
wichtig
future
sind, auf
issues
dieser
which concern
Tagesordnung,
all of us
die
that are on the
nichts
agenda,
Geringeres
and
betreffen als
they
das
do
Verständnis, das
not
wir vom
concern
Universum
nothing
haben.
less than what we understand
Ihre
by
Konferenz,
the
unsere
universe.
Konferenz,
So
unsere gemeinsame
your conference,
Konferenz
our
geht
joint
weit
conference
darüber
now goes
hinaus,
well
was
beyond
man
the
Durchbrüche angeht
presentation of
und
scientific
präsentiert, die in
breakthroughs
unterschiedlichen
in individual
Wissenschaftsfeldern
fields
gefunden sind,
or
sondern sie
initiating those
zeigt,
breakthroughs.
dass
Instead,
Wissenschaft, und
it
das ist ganz
shows
wichtig,
science, and this
dass
is very
Wissenschaft
important, it
in der
shows
Mitte der
that
Gesellschaft
science is
sein
at the
muss,
heart of
wo sie auch hin
society.
gehört.
This
Und
is where it
Wissenschaft muss eben
belongs, and
Aufklärer sein,
science needs to be a source of
Lösungsfinder,
enlightenment
Wegbereiter.
and a finder
Und wir
and
leben ja in einer
enabler of
Wissensgesellschaft, wo man
solutions.
alles
We
ganz
live in a
schnell
knowledge-based
zu allen möglichen
society
Fragen Antworten
where
finden
we
kann.
have to
Also
find
wenn wir mal zusammen Kaffee
answers
trinken
very
zur Familie,
quickly
freut sich
for all
jeder, wenn ich irgendeine
questions.
Frage
And when
habe,
I
weil wir dann alle
am
über die
having a
Technik
coffee
tippen
with
und
my
die ganz
family, then
schnell
everybody's very happy when
beantworten
I have a
können.
question because
Das ist ohne
everybody is
weiteres
taking out their
möglich.
handhelds
Und es
in
ist aber
order
nicht
to find the
so,
answer on the
dass
internet.
Wissenschaft sich
This
darauf
is
beschränken
possible, but
sollte,
it's
Politik und
really not what
Verantwortliche zu
science should
informieren,
limit itself
sondern
to.
ich glaube,
It's
eine
not
ganz
only
zentrale
informing
Frage ist
those
es,
that
dass
have
Wissenschaft
responsibility.
breit
It
aufklären
is
muss,
very
dass sie in der
important that
Öffentlichkeit
in
sensibilisieren
the
muss,
public it needs to
dass sie
raise
Verantwortung übernehmen
awareness,
muss,
it needs to assume
um die Öffentlichkeit
responsibility
zu
of its
erreichen.
own, and in order to
Das heißt
reach
mehr als
out
einzelne
to
Dialoge.
the public,
Das heißt wirklich
it
die
needs to
Zivilgesellschaft
engage in
ernst nehmen.
more than in individual
Ernst nehmen,
dialogues. It has
und ich
to
glaube,
take
da haben wir noch
seriously
einen nicht zu
civil
kurzen Weg vor
society, and
uns.
I think we still
Und
have a
natürlich ist
pretty
es nicht
long way to
einfach,
go for this. And of
komplexe
course, it is
Sachverhalte
not
so
easy
darzustellen,
to
dass sie jeder, dass
present
sie viele verstehen.
complex
Aber jeder, der
issues
ein
in a way that everybody
Hauptschullehrer
can
sein
understand
will,
this, but
der muss das
everybody who
können.
wants
Das
to
ist das
be a
Kriterium.
university
Und das
teacher
gilt
needs
auch
to
für die
be able
Wissenschaft
to do this.
insgesamt. Und da darf man
This
sich
holds
auch
true
nicht
for
zu fein
science
sein
at large,
und daran
and
denken, dass
therefore
das auch
you
ein
should
ganz
always
wichtiger
bear in mind
Teil ist
that this is
dessen,
also a
wofür
very
Wissenschaft
important
verantwortlich
part
ist.
for
Und wenn
what
es um ganz wichtige
science or
Entscheidungen
of what
geht in
science
der
is bearing
Politik, dann ist
responsibility
es
for.
so,
So
dass
when we're
Wissenschaft
speaking
und
about
Forschung
responsibility in
nicht
politics,
immer, natürlich nicht
we
am Tisch
know
sitzen, wenn
that
diese Entscheidungen getroffen
science
werden.
and research
Aber
are
dass es
not
gerade
always
Wissenschaft
having a
und
place
Forschung
at the
sind,
table when
die uns
decisions are taken,
an
but
vielen Stellen
especially science and
Handlungsspielräume erst
research
eröffnen und
provide the
Möglichkeiten geben.
politicians
Und
with
deswegen
options
ist die
for action
Kommunikation
and
zwischen
open up new
Wissenschaft und
opportunities. And
Politik
this is why the
außerordentlich
close and
wichtig.
trusting communication
Und
between
diese
science and government is
Kommunikation
so important.
muss mehr
And
sein,
this
als dass einer
communication
Fragen
has to
stellt,
be more than
meinetwegen die Politik
maybe one
oder die
side
Wissenschaft,
asking questions,
sondern es muss
politics or
wirklich ein
science. No,
verantwortungsvoller
it
Austausch
has to be
stattfinden.
a very
Und das
responsible
heißt, dass
sharing
man in
and and exchanging of information. information. So this is a constant process, an ongoing process, which is without arrogance. We need to accept the concerns every side has and get an impetus from each side. This is very important, or else the major issues that we're all concerned by will not be solved. Therefore, on the other hand, it is the task of policymakers to provide some room for maneuver so that science can act accordingly. And science needs to assume responsibility when it comes to setting the agenda. This is what we hope for from science. It's not only finding solutions, but also setting the agenda. And we're talking about opportunities and options for action that science has. And I can tell you as a representative of the German government that in the past years we've really done a lot in order to strengthen the research landscape. This, of course, is something that translates into money, funding, that is not easy to acquire. And of course, I'm happy to take this home to the Minister of Finance, whoever it will be in the future. But even right now, we are in a troublesome situation worldwide. If we look at the scientific and research budgets in the world, and there are not many countries in the world that are investing even more in these difficult times against the general trend. And this is something which we want to communicate into the different countries in the world and also into the research community. And apart from that, we also attempted in Germany, where there are so many rules for everything. And in view of those many rules, we try to create some freedom, we try to introduce some competitive elements as well, and we want to carry on along this path. Ladies and gentlemen, today, on the 9th of November, it is the day where many of you, because back then it was a day where the images were sent around the world, when the wall came down, and this is something which is still moving me a lot when I see it today. But I have to say that in 1989, for me personally, another day was the most important one. It was not the 9th of November, but the 9th of October. Back then, I was living in the former GDR, so I was in East Germany on the other side of the wall. And you may know that for many weeks in Leipzig, on every Monday, demonstrations took place and they became more and more powerful. And then the 7th of October came, and the 7th of October was the 40th anniversary of the former GDR, German Democratic Republic. And on this 7th of October, the party and state leadership, as they were called, decided that these marches, these demonstrations should come to an end. So on that day, and this is something we were not only aware of back then because of word of mouth, but this has also been proven now scientifically. On that day, on that Monday, on the 9th of October, on all roads, exit roads for Leipzig, ambulances and civil police cars were posted. And I was living 30 kilometers away from Leipzig. In all the hospitals, the amounts of blood were increased. So people thought there might be shooting, there might be violence going on, and people knew this on this 9th of October. And on this 9th of October, as many people turned up for the demonstrations, as many as there'd never been before. So for me, the 9th of October is decisive, because on that day there was another wall that came down, and that was the wall of fear. And this is why, ladies and gentlemen, I believe that a day like this here in Berlin also is a day to inspire you with courage, not only to dare a change, but also to know that after liberation, after freedom, there will be a long and very strenuous situation. We know what happened in the Arab countries after those demonstrations and after the hope many people had that they had already achieved a lot. And this is why I think Germany is an example that goes to show that major transformation processes can happen, can succeed. Many high hurdles have to be overcome, but they can be overcome. And the way towards achieving this is made up of many individual steps, and it is sometimes a way which is not going a straight line, not in politics, not in science, not in industry, not in society at large. But what is crucial is that you need to get started, that that you need to embark on that track, on that path. And this is why I'm so happy to have this conference taking place here today. So I would like to wish you a very lovely and inspiring day today. And I would like to see you amazed, in doubt, discussing, and then you will go away from Berlin and return to Berlin one day so that in your fields you can embark on that path. Thank you very much.